All right, welcome everybody. We're back on Tennis Channel Inside In. Late September, you're just flying by. Tennis all the time. Mark Petchey back again. It's been a couple of months. Mark, welcome back to the show. Fresh from Berlin on the side of the Laver Cup. Excited to recap it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Mitch, as ever, with you. What a 3 days that was. That was just phenomenal on every level. Brilliant city, unbelievably well organised as ever from the Laver Cup, and I mean, the tennis on the final day was just sensational.
So 7 years we've been doing this now, and it was another home run hit. I think that's universally the recognition across the board. That's a long time to do anything, let alone something in the tennis world, a new and not like tour event. Why has it been able to succeed and still be as bright as ever 7 years in?
It's a great question. I think obviously at the start there was a lot of people that were wondering what this was all going to be about. Was it going to be more of an exhibition than it was going to be something serious? Obviously, the precursor to all of this was the Ryder Cup in golf. I think Prague, honestly, it set the tone. Right from that weekend, we all walked away saying what a phenomenal event this is. You know, over 15,000 people packed in all 3 days. And then obviously you had the runner wins for Europe. We had the victory lap, of course, in Vancouver after the come from behind win in London for Team World. And this one in particular just felt from day one very, very authentic. There was a real sense on both sides of that bench that they desperately wanted to come away with it.
Well, the one thing that starts everything is that the stars, the icons of the sport, you know, if it's a Federer brainchild, Nadal's played, Djokovic played, Murray was there. The next generation is taking it seriously and keeping it on. But on that same note, and you mentioned it right there, they really are here to win. There's exhibitions, there's some people call them hit and giggles and whatever they are. But from the moment, you said it, from the moment, first match Friday, the players playing, the players watching each match, they're in it to win it. And I think it's a rare thing to capture that.
Yeah, I think it's rare. I think obviously you've got the other added benefit where all the doubles matches have got absolutely world-class players. We saw that on the Sunday, of course. That was amplified in the way that Ruud and Alcaraz played in that particular doubles match against Tiafoe and Shelton. So I think that's another thing that's beautiful about it. The fact that you can't match up twice against the same person means that throughout the course of the 3 days, there's a lot of strategy involved from the captains, a lot of intrigue from us as fans. So I think when you take it collectively, it's probably in the top 5 of events in tennis. And that's going to ruffle a few feathers.
Yeah, because there are 4 majors, and 5 is a high place.
It's a very high place, and I know that's going to ruffle people's feathers. But for my money, having been fortunate enough to be at all 7 of them, and you're not always going to get home run last matches like we obviously had in Berlin. As I said, it was just a victory lap in Vancouver. It was a win from gun to tape for Team World. But there is something about this event that is absolutely what tennis needs.
The doubles side is huge too, because it's a moment for doubles. The game can be very exciting if played a certain way, if marketed a certain way. I think the Laver Cup hits on that. Speaking of Berlin, why was that city such a home run hit? Because there's a lot of countries that do great tennis, but what was it about Berlin that made this one work?
I think obviously rich tradition in terms of tennis. I think Boris being there Becker was extra special. I think one of the things about the Laver Cup that's also happening is that there's a lot of greats from the past that are wanting to come to the event for the 3 days. And I think that that's a huge hook in. I think that we should always celebrate the greatness from the past. Obviously, we got 2 new captains coming in, Noah and Agassi. But I do feel as though in tennis, holding on to and bringing those players back is something extra special, and I think that that's something the Laver Cup is building on in terms of a tradition.
That Sunday was really special. All the days were special, but then you had the doubles match, Alcaraz and Kasper, Zverev, the local guy, saving it for Team Europe, and then Alcaraz, who was far and away if they have a most outstanding player, no-brainer there, who gets it, wins the winner-take-all match at the end over Taylor Fritz. He has a knack, as we've seen, for elevating under the bright lights, and this was another example of that.
Yeah, I mean, I know Brad Gilbert's got his nicknames. I've decided to call him the Alchemist. Alcaraz, he just turns the impossible into possible. He turns water into wine. He turns air into gold. You name it. The guy can transform a tennis match into either a spectacle that we can just watch his greatness and do the things that he does that very few players can, or turn an event like that absolutely on its head. The way that he came out on Sunday was and carried Casper through, I want to say, through the first probably 15, 20 minutes. Casper had to save a break point in his opening service game. Had that gone against them, that would have been interesting. But Casper played phenomenal once he got through that little period. And a lot of that obviously was down to Carlos, but it also just reiterated how great Casper is.
It was remarkable stuff. Team Europe prevents the three-peat for Team World. They get the Laver Cup back. And as long as the players care and as long as they keep buying in, this is a special thing. I also think, Mark, that tennis players just love being parts of teams when they can be. It's kind of a rare thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think United Cup is also the same. You've obviously got the mixed doubles in that, and we saw how hard Zverev played at the start of this season in United Cup to try and get the win for Germany. It is different. I think it's special. I think it's given Carlos a little bit of a lift playing Davis Cup and Laver Cup in terms of getting back in a team competition. He did look at, as everybody has sort of talked about, just a little flatter at the US Open. That's probably a little bit of an Olympic hangover. But these team competitions have got a place. Listen, can talk about the schedule, you can talk about X, Y, and Z. Everybody is, but as an event in isolation, of just massive credit to the organising committee that have, let's be honest, taken a huge risk 7 years ago and putting this event on. It's not easy to go and hire these monster stadiums just for 3 days worth of income that are coming in and turn it into the outstanding success that it's become.
Certainly has been an outstanding success. And Mark, the last thing too, you mentioned new captains next year. It was a great run, obviously. Bjorn Borg, John McEnroe, titans of the game, icons in the game, 7 years. Now turning it over to Andre Agassi and Yannick Noah, who, the latter especially, he's built for leading a team in this competition.
Yeah, Yannick's going to be great. He's going to be able to double up. He's going to, at the gala dinner, he's going to be able to be, he's going to be introduced, and he's also going to be able to do all the entertainment with his singing and everything else. I know Yannick a little bit. He was Davis Cup captain for France. I played against Yannick for Great Britain in Biarritz. Just a phenomenal character. He's going to be a very different style to Bjorn. Yeah. He's going to bring that energy. And I think Team Europe needs that, to be honest. I think Bjorn and John, a beautiful contrast, as we saw on the tennis court. They were as captains, but I do feel as though at times over the weekend, when things started going against Team Europe, you probably need a little bit of Yannick Noah just to drag the team back.
It's great to have Andre back. It's going to be weird how he's going to be more the reserved one in the coaching dynamic in the next iteration, where Team World has the more reserved coach. Last thing on this, another great hit. Do we have a Federer update? Because I saw the practice video and it looked pretty good.
Yeah, he's still striking the ball well. I think if we see Roger out there when he's 80, he's still going to be striking the ball well. Yeah. He looked like he was having fun. He said, he obviously talked about it. It's nice to be back on the court with his kids over the summer. And listen, he's a big star. Yeah. He's a big star. You just be in Berlin, and it's you feel as though you're sort of around the Beatles or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, our guy Leif Shiras said that about Borg back in the day, that it's like a characteristic of the guys or girls that when they walk into a room, people just stop and stare. Very rare quality, even being famous. Rogers clearly has that.
Yeah, he does, and everything he's touching at the moment is turning to gold. Laver Cup, no difference. And again, I just think it's great for tennis that he's remaining as close to it and as close to the players because of Laver Cup. And I think that is something that's very different for some of these big stars. A lot of them have either stepped away for a while. He's actually going to remain very visible.
Well, phenomenal effort again for Team Europe. The Laver Cup was a smash hit. We also, Mark Petchey, we also had a lot of different tennis going on and still going on as the Asian swing kicking off and heating up. Going to give props to some players now. Marin Cilic, number one on the list, 36 years old. Ranking of, I think, 771, going up 777, going up 5 spots, and winning the Hangzhou title over Zizhen Zhang, who is a great player in his own right, beats Nakashima the round before. Injury-ridden, written off, hadn't played much, But there's that DNA of a champion that gets him a title and gets him back where he belongs in the winner's circle.
Yeah, in the winner's circle, up to, I think, 212 in the rankings, losing first round of a challenger at Rafa's Academy in Manacor just while the US Open was going on. I don't know how much people know about Marin, one of the nicest guys ever, I think, to pick up a tennis racket. But more than that, one of the hardest working individuals. I've been fortunate enough to be on the court a few times with him, but particularly with Andy Murray back in 2021. And the work rate from Marin is absolutely off the charts. He matches Andy, step for step. And Andy, obviously, one of the hardest workers out there. That is unbelievably well-deserved.
That's a great point, because I know like the top players would love to practice with him. Federer and him practiced before they actually met in the Australian Open. So it's a thing where, they respect what he does. And also 21 titles. Other than Djokovic, Nadal, and Zverev, that's most of active players. So knows a thing or two.
Yeah, and toss the Davis Cup in there as well for Marin. It's been an incredible career.
He's been great. And also Jerry Shang on the other side. So we go older champion, younger champion. Jerry Shang, still a teen, and gets his first title in China, which is great too. Beating Musetti. Now that's a signature win. I know there's been doubts about potential with a lot of players, but you beat Lorenzo Musetti to win a title. That's a validation right there.
It is, and I think what it does is just tell us that he understands the intangibles on a tennis court really well, because there's nothing necessarily when you look at Shang that stands out, but he places his serve incredibly well. His forehand down the line is obviously a devastating weapon. Those are the things that people are going to be looking at and trying to cover. But in terms of his quality and understanding and anticipation on a tennis court, it is up there with some of the best. And as you say, a title already at 19 years of age is not easy.
Yeah, it's I think just Mensik is the only one younger than him in the top 100. So that's a very, very good class for him. And Musetti, he competes. He's been going deep into tournaments all year, so he was going to bring it. The other bigger picture to this, too, that I wanted to kind of open up, Mark, is that the U.S. Open happens. He loses to Casper Ruud. He's up big. There could have been two ways you go from that. It's a terrible loss, and then you just have a bad couple months. But, no, he's building on that. So he's taking a setback and a good showing and building on it. It's pretty special quality too.
It's everything, isn't it? In tennis, whether we like it or not, there's very few players that walk away with the title each week. You're going to take a loss, and it depends on what sort of way that loss comes. That can obviously affect you. But at 19 years of age, it's a little easier to try and park that in the lesson column, and that's exactly what he's done. And as you say, he learned from it well and has come back and put in an unbelievable run.
All right, well, 52 in the world. That's remarkable stuff.
Yep.
We also have a women's final to talk about. Beatrice Haddad-Maia beat Daria Kasatkina. It was a great match, a three-setter. And I had a stat here that I was looking at. Beatrice has played 20 deciders this year. Seems like a big number. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know how many of those she's won, because obviously it's been a tough year for her in many ways. Just trying to kind of build on what she's done already, obviously, which has been fantastic. But another one that has kind of had to take a few gut punches this season, and then has bounced back. And we talk a lot about. Is the schedule too congested? Is there too many tournaments? Well, you look at a period like this, and it gives you a chance to kind of rescue what had been up until now a little bit of an indifferent season for her.
Yeah, she's 11-9 in those, so it's pretty split across the board. I also just love the contrast in styles in general, in sport, tennis especially. So when you get a player like Haddad-Maia with her weapons versus Kasatkina, you can get some good music made out there.
You can.
There's one, you mentioned the schedule, and I think it's great because I saw, always willing to spark debate online on social media. Something I hadn't really thought of that I wanted to bring up was that, look, and I'm with you too, the Asian swing, it happens for a variety of reasons. The money is good. The players want this. This isn't the time. The break would be post-Wimbledon if you're going to do it in a fair rest system.
Absolutely. I mean, it's made... it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
The better thing to do for everybody would be to have a mid-season break. They do it in F1. It makes total sense that after Wimbledon we shut down. We give the fans a chance to recharge over the summer. They're also away on holiday, a lot of the people, and then come back a couple of weeks before the US Open, and then we have a couple of months worth of tournaments before we shut down properly ahead of Australia. I think it makes sense if you speak to physical people, the fitness trainers. Right. I think by shortening the season, and you can guarantee, Mitch, that we're not going to dump any tournaments out of that. If you shorten the season, it's only going to get more congested. So therefore, potentially you're going to get more injuries. So it doesn't make any sense to do that.
there's a level of training you could speak to the way the game has evolved that you have to put in time away from the court to compete at the top level. And that might be a bigger thing that we're lacking right now. I know players want to be healthy and they want to stay out there, but just to compete, give yourself a chance to compete with the best, there's not enough hours in the day, months in the year.
Yeah, listen, we can't rewind time. We can only work with where we're at. I think if people could rewind time and they realized what the extended Masters was going to do to the schedule, I think they would probably revisit that and vote differently. Yes, everyone's getting wealthier from a money perspective, but does it help them long term in terms of, as you say, building in some nice weeks where you can actually go off and actually work on your physical? Sinner said it beautifully though. You know, you've got mandatory events. You've got mandatory events to make your bonus pool money. It all kind of circles around money at the end of the day. You can make good decisions, and you can make decisions that are actually in the benefit of a long-term career. When you're making the kind of money they are, you have that luxury. People down the food chain actually are the ones that are hardest hit because they don't have the luxury to make those scheduling decisions.
More with Mark Petchey here on Tennis Channel Inside In as we gear up for this Asian swing. We got the combined Beijing event, and it's a 1,000 premier event for the first time for the WTA, a 500 for the ATP. A lot of great players in the field. But as we know, too, before we get into this field, Mark, this can set the table for the start of next year. We've seen this time and time again. You mentioned him, Jannik Sinner. What he did in that Asian swing indoor hard court season really propelled his 2024.
Yeah, listen, I think if you can head into the off-season with a bunch of wins, bunch of titles under your belt, you know, that off-season also feels more inspiring and everything else. You're not searching for solutions. Holger Rune could be one of those that's searching for solutions in his off-season right now rather than actually going in there feeling great about it. So you're right. These are significant weeks for all of these players.
Well, you look at the women's side, and there's unfortunately no Iga. Some of the other heavy hitters aren't in there. On shut it down. Rybakina is out. There's players that aren't in there. So Sabalenka comes in riding high. What she did at the U.S. Open, remarkable. She's been the unquestioned queen of the hard courts this year. A chance for her to, I guess, extend that reign. And there's another thing at the best, right? It's, can you put more distance between yourself and the field? This could also be like a warning shot in that regard.
Yeah, and the field will be trying to make sure that doesn't happen, because what they don't want her to do is to go into the Australian Open feeling as though she's almost unbeatable. So there'll be a lot of those competitors out there trying to make sure that Sabalenka doesn't waltz her way through this particular draw and continue that dominance, because there's no question that we've seen in the past with these great players, once they have that psychological edge, they are almost impossible to dislodge from the draw. But credit to Sabalenka. I mean, she is playing some great ball.
That was one of the things that was like the last thing is like, can she get the psychological edge? Because everything else is there. Now if she has it, it's really scary. Well, who are some of the other players in the field in Beijing on the women's side you think could, you know, based on their hard court game, based on how they are in form right now, make things interesting?
I think Pegula can make things interesting. Obviously, she's been playing great. Person, obviously, the lighthouse for women's tennis and American tennis. Coco Gauff, obviously, no Brad Gilbert now. So obviously, that's going to be an interesting time for her to you know, again, you talk about this is an important segment in the year for Coco as we head towards WTA finals and we head towards the next year. She wants to make sure that her game is in decent nick as we go forward. So I think those two, for me personally, right now, Maria Sakkari needs some wins outside the world's top 10 now after the points from Guadalajara have come off. So she's another one that needs to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I'll see if Emma Navarro has a good stretch coming up too, given what she was able to do.
Emma's always going to have a good stretch. She's going to be Miss Consistency.
She is.
That's what I feel.
Her movement was, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but I was blown away. And then talking to some people that played and are in Hall of Fames, saying that this wasn't the case. I was like, is this news? The people were like, yeah, you know more than me. They're like, yeah, she developed this. So hats off to her for being in tip-top shape. And then you got Naomi Osaka, too, who's working with Patrick Mouratoglou, won the first match. I like, and it's funny because we'll review this move after, but I like when great players aren't satisfied and they're trying different things. So just that she's trying new ideas shows how much she cares and is going to go for this.
I think Patrick's going to be great for Naomi at this stage of her career. He is uber positive. Everything's possible. And I think sometimes when you're in a bit of a kind of like difficult place, which she is, I actually think she's played pretty well at times, hasn't quite obviously got the results that she wants. Sometimes that's what you need. You need somebody to come in and tell you that it is possible. Very easy in life to find problems. It's very difficult to solve them. I actually think Patrick's going to be great for her.
Yeah, she's had some draw luck. She's been close. We know close doesn't mean much, and there's no moral victories, but she is building, so we'll see. And on the men's side, you got Jannik Sinner. You got a lot of these top players. Carlos is looking in that race too, by the way. Who has had the best year? Each had 2 slams. Maybe we'll find out here. So,
well, it's like 3,000 points different right now, though. It's not that close in the rankings, but it's certainly close in terms of opinion, and everyone's got one of those.
Yeah, everyone does. It's hardcore versus the channel double. No, it's gonna be a great 500 event because what Sinner does this time of year. Alcaraz seems to have found it.
I just want to jump in there, Mitch. Yeah. I do hope that I just genuinely hope that the 2 fan bases can find a way to support each of their fellow players without it becoming quite as divisive as it has been with the big 3.
We're starting over. Yeah, we're rebooting.
We are.
We're big 3 fan bases and I love all those guys, but yeah, it got a little divisive there.
Well, you know what? I don't mind divisive. Mm-hmm. It just gets pretty dislikable to read. There's a lot of hate, and it's absolutely fine. I come from a country where soccer is almost a religion, and you've got fan bases coming out of everywhere, and it's but I do hope that they can just wind it back a little bit and just keep it civil. You can have, I want Carlos, you can have, I want Jannik, but some of the stuff and from those fan bases almost towards Jannik after what happened at the Open with everything else, for me is way over the line. On social media, and it's not good for the sport. No. It doesn't look good on the sport. People can say, "Oh, it's generating." I don't actually think it is good because it turns me off. I don't want to read it, and I think there's a lot of people out there that end up don't want to read it. So that's what I would like to see happen.
I would as well. I think it also is good, at least at this point. The Sinner-Alcaraz friendship seems to be rising above a lot of this stuff. So
don't want it to be too friendly.
No, that's true. That's the same way. It's friendly because they've each won. But if somebody gets the hammer in that rivalry, and that's how it's happened.
And that's fine. You don't want love-ins. I don't want love-ins on the court. I want it to mean something. I want them to. You want to feel like when they walk out there that it's all on the line. You go back to Lendl Mack, your Lendl Connors, all of these things. I love that era. I don't. But for me, I just think for the good of the sport, the growth of the sport, for other people that maybe are just casual fans dipping their toe in, scrolling through social media, and they're like, wow, what a den of deceit this thing is. People are just hating on each other.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add to this, you make great points, is that I think part of it is the picture of this is like a minute detail, but like when you see a profile and it's the picture of that person, that's just the cognitive dissonance. Like I just associate that with that person, even though they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But I'm with you there. We all preach positivity on this show as well. Well, Tennis Channel Insight, and we're going to wrap up with Mark Petchey. Just a couple quick things before I let you go. Busy night ahead on Tennis Channel. A couple things that I want to talk about in the tennis world, just giving props. The longest WTA losing streak in history.
Yes.
Last night. So Zhang Shui, 24-match losing streak, had been over a year, beats the American McCartney Kessler. So yeah, just a lesson in stick with itness.
Champagne moment for her. Champagne moment for her. I mean, that is a brutal losing streak. Over 600 days, confidence, in the gutter. Every time you think you've hit the basement, they find a new digger that's building you another one. And to come through it speaks volumes for her as a person. Yeah.
Did you ever have any brutal losing streaks?
Mitch. How long you got? I thought you said you wanted to wrap this up. We could be here another 4 hours.
I guess the follow-up would be: did you try different things, mess up?
Oh yeah, I tried a lot of different things. I abstained from alcohol for about 6 months. I then decided that didn't work, so then I decided to go straight to the off license and buy a 6-pack and see if I could finish that in a record-breaking time. I tried it all. I tried it all, Mitch. Trust me. Some of it for the microphone and some of it not.
Okay, we'll get those off the record later. And then finally, we have Rebecca Šramková, which she's been able to do. I want to bring her up. Slovakian is 27, so this isn't like an early career moment. 12-1 in her last 13 matches. She's made a final in Jasmine. She won the title in Thailand. She had to qualify for the Beijing. No days rest, qualifies, wins a main draw match. So props to her. That is not easy to do at any level.
That is wild, isn't it? But again, it just goes to show, just like if you can just pack that little quantity of confidence in your suitcase in 1 week in tennis, everything can turn around. Obviously, there's a whole lot of stuff that's gone on in the lab that we haven't seen, that trying to figure stuff out that's going to make improvements to a game. But once it gets rolling, it becomes an unstoppable force. So credit to her, as you say. It's so much harder to do at that age.
And you probably just get in a zone, or maybe as a player or as a coach, you want to be on the court as much as possible. You're unconscious.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the state you're looking for all the time. I mean, you talk to all the great players, and we talk about this now with the galaxy of data that we have out in the sport. You know, the best players in the world, one of the great separators for the best players in the world is their instinct. You stick a 75% chance that they're going to serve to your forehand, you actually nullify that instinct. What you were looking for is for them to just basically, feel the moment. And that's what happens when you're in that unconscious state. That's what she's doing at the moment, and credit to her. She's going to take some stopping. It's
going to be a great run for sure. Mark Petchey, this was great. Last thing. Do you want to take a victory lap on electronic line calling, or?
I'll take the win. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. I said, we better hope the firewalls are good for electronic line calling systems, because if somebody decides that they want to hack into that system and just move it a couple of millimeters, you just never know. You never know.
It's insane. We had that discussion when you were on the show 2 months ago, and then everything kind of went down. And I'm not saying that umpires deserve to be thrown under the bus for mistakes, but it just shows you that there is no perfection, which was the driving point of that whole speech you gave, was that perfection is unattainable. And we are removing some drama. And I do think it's safe to say, I mean, I talked to Lars Graff on this show last week, and he said you're not having to be as sharp as an umpire. And we're seeing that, unfortunately, too.
Well, at what point do you drop the umpire's chair down onto the court? When's that coming? So that the fans behind the umpire's chair can see better. Because then you can charge more for those seats, right? You're going to say, well, you've got uninterrupted view. I feel sorry for the umpires. I think it's getting to the point now where, as you say, they're just becoming, audio scoreboards. And yeah, I don't. You know how I feel, Mitch. I don't love it. I hope we'd wind it back, but I think the horse is bolted here.
Bolting in a lot of ways. But we still have some great tennis. Mark Petchey, this was a blast. As always, thanks for appearing on the show again. Good luck calling all these matches, getting into the Asian swing mode. I know you're one of the hardest workers in tennis, so I appreciate the time coming on the podcast. Always a blast.
Always a blast to be here.